Hello, all you lovely people of this great green earth. Welcome to League Unlocked. Eric and Mark with you guys for our final preview of the absolutely stacked weekend to come of playoff action. Of course, it is North America. Liquid versus TSM, Doublelift versus Bjergsen. There's so many storylines coming in to this series, and either way, there's going to be a whole lot of records being broken because whoever wins, either Doublelift or Bjergsen, got the most titles in LCS history.
Oh yeah, this is the Thanos showdown here, man. This is for it all. We're going to get right here into this matchup in St. Louis, of course, for the spring split finals here. This is going to be an exciting time. Lots on the line here. Dynasties, legends will all be forged here. Let's get into it.
And of course, we're going to go lane by lane. Who's got the advantages? Everyone had Liquid 3-game losing streak coming into playoffs. I don't know. Okay, they threw out FlyQuest. Okay, maybe we should still have a little bit of confidence in them. And one of the guys who played an incredible series against FlyQuest was Impact. And in this matchup against Broken Blade, I think before this FlyQuest series, you might have said the advantage goes to Broken Blade just because he looked much more adept at playing some of these carries. But Impact played 3 carries in a row against FlyQuest.
Right, now this was the matchup that you wanted to see here in the top side, and what, of course, you needed to see from Impact in that series against FlyQuest was to see a better performance, was to see some type of expansion here of the champion pool that he's very proficient on for Team Liquid in order to think about this matchup here, because we had already seen Broken Blade get the advantage of Impact twice now for Team Solo Mid. I think this is going to be an interesting matchup here where, hey, if you're heading into this one as Broken Blade, you gotta have some confidence with you for yourself, thinking that I'm good enough. I've been able to take Impact to school a couple times now. I can do it here in the finals. But if you are TSM, you gotta be telling yourself, be a little bit careful here, because Impact is obviously quite the veteran here, has been through these type of scenarios quite a lot, and of course, with that strong performance we saw against FlyQuest here, you know that he's going to be in form heading into this big stage here for the finals, and he's going to be ready to give you his best performance.
And we've seen for years now, going back to his time on Cloud9, that Impact always gets the playoff buff. The top die buff, it looked like he got it against FlyQuest, but these guys play very different roles in their respective teams, and you know, Smithy doesn't spend a whole lot of time going to that top lane for Impact, whereas Acadian and Broken Blade, the two of the new members on TSM this year, they're always got action going on. Sometimes it's an overdive where they both end up dying and costing their team, but I think the synergies looked a lot better lately, and Acadian will be hanging out top a lot.
Yeah, he should be up in that top side trying to help Broken Blade get going there, because when you look at what happened with Impact and in the FlyQuest series there, it was all about how they played in that top side, and I think now this way here with TSM, you're going to be seeing those fights in that top side, trying to get it going here. Because yes, as we know, Team Liquid, that big power is in your bottom lane, but we did see in the FlyQuest series flexing around some of those resources and power a bit, and Smithy was helping get that going around there. This is going to be a great jungle matchup because, hey, so much experience on one side, and you have Acadian just starting to forge his playoff identity here. This is going to be a great matchup.
Yeah, and for Acadian, it's going to be the ultimate test going against the best jungler in the history of North America, that's at least from North America. Domestic talent-wise, I think it's safe to say Smithy has surpassed someone like Meteos. And Acadian, we talked about it after their series against Cloud9, just the mental bounce back he had from those 2 underwhelming first games to come back and put 3 solid performances in a row. I think he's got to be flying into this series with tons of confidence.
He should have tons of confidence here, but we're going to have another challenge for Team Solo Mid. Of course, into this point here, with Acadian, as we've been talking about, getting that playoff experience here, building it up, getting that mental fortitude in that series against Cloud9. But it's a whole nother level now as you step into these finals. You're going to be in that huge arena-style venue, something that he's never experienced in his career before. This is going to be totally different, and this is something where you got to watch out for some of the nerves, some of these misplays that you might have seen at the start of the playoffs. For those type of situations, might rear their head again, even though you've had that experience and hardship so far.
Yeah, and hopefully for TSM, you know, that might happen in the first game or two, and hopefully it's not too big a hole for them by that point. The mid lane's obviously the matchup that you want to see. I mean, this is just almost every LCS finals. We're always talking about Jensen versus Bjergsen. They have been hands down the top 2 mid laners for at least 3, probably 4 years now in the LCS. Jensen's on a different squad, but as you know the history, he's 0-3 against Bjergsen in those LCS finals. Is a change of scenery enough to finally take him down? Because Bjergsen was the all-pro mid lane.
Hey, man. I would love to say it's a change of scenery is all that Jensen needed here in this one, but I don't know. If you've seen this matchup as many times as we've seen it before, this is the prize fight that every time you're getting that rematch, and every time it's the same fighter getting absolutely knocked out onto the floor at the end of it. And it feels bad because you know what? Jensen has delivered some fantastic performances against TSM. A lot of the performances that he's delivering, he's the reason why these matches are finding their way in towards the later game stages here. But time and time again, this man right here demolishes everybody's dreams. He's been doing it to Jensen ever since he came over here to North America. Bjerg Daddy is here and he is in full form for TSM. You gotta side with him in this mid lane star-powered matchup.
Yeah, I think Bjergsen should be slightly favored here, just based on the entire season that I've played. But I know people like to meme that Jensen's always just terrible against Bjergsen. The echo, he forgot to press R, but people forget that he had an incredible 5-game series. Even in that game, he was rolling on that echo. So I don't think it's as much a mental thing as people like to play up in this matchup. I don't think he's played carries nearly as much this split. You saw his KDA, by the way, 14.2 is actually more than Chovy, the man who had 100 at one point in the season. So he's played very safe and not nearly as aggressive as you're accustomed to seeing from him. And maybe Bjergsen takes advantage of that.
Right, hey, and I'm still taking that side of Bjergsen in this 1v1 type matchup. But if you are looking for the reason why you would choose Jensen here, you gotta say that the form that he showed against FlyQuest, picking up these solo kills, that's exactly what you wanted to be seeing heading into this type of matchup. And you're right, the times that Jensen has failed against TSM and Bjergsen in the past, not exactly his fault. Yeah, a couple missed, one missed R button, things like that. But a lot of the times it's his play carrying the teams into even having a chance here. So now with the Team Liquid squad, could be looking pretty good.
Pretty much every matchup in this series is insane because they've been the two best teams, and the bot lane is no different with Doublelift versus Zven. Doublelift going for the three-peat. Zven still trying to become the first player to ever win the EU and NA titles in their respective regions. And both guys had incredible seasons. They've both maybe not necessarily carried as hard as you would expect from them, but I don't think that's kind of been the play style of most teams here in the spring split. They have been absolutely rocks and consistent carries in the backline throughout the whole split.
Right, this is one of those situations here when you're looking at this bottom lane, and obviously for both of these teams, almost every single other matchup that you could possibly have, you're thinking to yourself, well, we got the better bot lane, we've got the advantage here. Well, this one, it seems like it's going to be really kind of this tug-of-war battle between which bottom lane is going to be getting the best of each other here, because I tell you what, during the laning phase, it should be about pretty equal with both of these players knowing how to get their CS, knowing how to deal the trade-out damage here. That should be equal. But when you're talking about getting into these team fights, that's where the differences will be made in the performance, who shows up, who's not. This is the star matchup. Again, we had the mid lane matchup, which is exciting with Jensen and Bjergsen's history, but this one here, the Doublelift and Zven replacement here, this is a little bit more history, a little bit more personal. This is exciting.
This one is a toss-up for me. I think you could argue either way. I think they're that evenly matched. And even supports, I think it's similar. Obviously, Core JJ completely dominated, and you give him the edge over Smoothie, even though Smoothie has completely carried some games for TSM. Core JJ for me, still the front runner for MVP, and maybe gives the Liquid bot lane just that slight edge over TSM. But the main question is, we seen Sonateric permabanned game one?
I think that we will be seeing some form of that in this series. I think because to that point, we're not going to be seeing any type of hotfix changes for this type of situation. Still will be very strong, very potent, played well, played right into the certain situations. That is where we're going to see that strength. But when you talk about this bottom lane as a package here, I think the exciting thing is overall with Core JJ there, with Doublelift, yes, the team fighting potential is all there. The saves, the engages, it's all there. But when you're looking on the TSM side, I tell you what, I've seen Smoothie this entire year be able to make these game-changing engages, finding the right way, and against Cloud9, he did it getting onto the Zoe, making sure they could pick up those kills. He's done it before with these amazing thresh hooks. It can change a game.
And for TSM, I mean, they got their Canadian boy. They only win with Canadians on the roster. 2018, no Canadians. The split with Yellow Star, no Canadians. Smoothie's back. I think the redemption arc comes. I got TSM 3-2. It's going to be very close.
Ooh, I've got it 3-1. I got the Wrath a little bit swifter this time.
No faith in Liquid.
Hey, I've seen a lot of strength from Team Liquid here, but I think that TSM is determined to punch their ticket and be the team from North America at MSI.
Their confidence is definitely riding at an all-time high right now.